Our top story tonight. It's rare that so many eyes in Strasbourg are on a Tory conference in Birmingham. But the three-day event has been overshadowed by tensions over Brexit. And on her big day, in her keynote speech, Theresa May told the EU it was time. It showed some respect to the UK in Brexit negotiations. And she reiterated that Britain could still walk away. And she explained how she would act in the national interest. Let's take a look.
That means two things. First, honouring the result of the referendum. MPs asked the British people to take this decision. We put our faith in their judgment. They have put their faith in us to deliver. I will not let them down. And secondly, to seek a good trading and security relationship with our neighbours after we have left. They are our close friends and allies, and we should ensure it stays that way. Britain isn't afraid to leave with no deal if we have to. But we need to be honest about it. Leaving without a deal, introducing tariffs and costly checks at the border, would be a bad outcome for the UK and the EU. Some people ask me to rule out no deal. But if I did that, I would weaken our negotiating position and have to agree to whatever the EU offers. And at the moment, that would mean accepting one of two things. Either a deal that keeps us in the EU in all but name, keeps free movement, keeps vast annual payments, and stops us signing trade deals with other countries, or a deal that carves off Northern Ireland, a part of this country, effectively leaving it in the EU's customs union. So let us send a clear message from this hall today. We will never accept either of those choices. I have treated the European Union with nothing but respect. The United Kingdom expects the same. So this is our proposal. Taking back control of our borders, laws and money. Good for jobs, good for the Union. It delivers on the referendum. It keeps faith with the British people. It is in the national interest. You saw in Salzburg that I am standing up for Britain. Back them with the lowest corporation tax in the G20. Britain, under my Conservative government, is open for business.
All right, so we heard Theresa May there. She was standing firm, but without really pushing the EU's buttons, remaining very diplomatic. Do you think this leaves her in a stronger position?
It does leave her in a stronger position. I think without doubt she needs her party behind her and her cabinet. That's what she clearly demonstrated today that she has. So I thought it was a good speech, well delivered, a lot of good content in there, and really it was holding out a hand to our friends here in the European Union to say, we're waiting to hear what you think of our Chequers proposal. You've said you don't like parts of it, so tell us the exact detail that you don't like about it so we can actually talk further about it and hopefully reach an agreement.
But Marietta, there was nothing really unexpected or surprising in the speech that she gave,
not to me. I mean, not to me. I just thought it was a bit amusing to sort of suggest that, if we do this, then the EU will know that, we're in a certain position and we have no choice, etc. I mean, it's funny for her to sort of use this dynamic of the negotiation to persuade people behind her plan, even though I think, frankly, the EU has been crystal clear for the longest time what it needs. And Theresa May speaks very clearly about interests, about delivering, but of course the EU 27 have the same goals. We need to deliver for the EU 27, keep the EU intact, maintain a level playing field when dealing with the UK after Brexit, maintain a security relation that's important. So we each have our objectives, and I think that's perfectly legitimate, has nothing to do with a lack of respect.
And the EU say the EU has been crystal clear. You were shaking your head. You don't think so, but Marietta's just laid out everything that the EU wants out of this deal.
There's hardly anything laid out in terms of what the EU wants out of this deal. It's really difficult to appreciate this, and I do understand it. Ireland, the island of Ireland, is two countries. Northern Ireland, which is part of the United Kingdom, and Southern Ireland, which isn't. There is no physical border there at the present. We can't go back to a physical border within the island of Ireland because of all of the security problems that are there. But with that in mind, the problem that the EU seems to have is how we administer that customs arrangement, and that is not sorted out. The backstop is not satisfactory. What it would do is put the border in the middle of the Irish Sea and leave the island of Ireland with a different customs arrangement to that of the United Kingdom. That is not acceptable. We've said that repeatedly, and there seems to be no appreciation of that point at all.
Isn't that what is exactly going to happen if, as Theresa May says, the UK will walk away with no deal? Then that's exactly what's going to happen, isn't it?
It's not what's going to happen. Those then become matters for us in terms of how we deal with our arrangements as a United Kingdom. That's a very different proposition. We're hoping we don't get to that point of no deal. We want a deal. We're happy for there to be a deal. That was the whole point of the Chequers proposal, was to present a fresh set of proposals for the EU to consider. We're still waiting to hear in detail what the problem is with Chequers, and we've not heard yet.
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, I think it is good that we're finally getting into the details, and it also reveals very much the discrepancy between political promises that have been made over and over again in the UK, that this would be fantastic, easy, no deal is better than a bad deal, was really sort of thrown at the table as a sort of, bravoure or some sort of muscle showing on the part of London, and it's not that easy. And it's good that we're getting to the reality check now, and that actually London, the Conservative Party amongst itself, has to sort out, where the devil is, which is in the details. And I think it is good that we're at this level now, and I agree that we never want to see a hard border in Ireland again. I mean, there's been so much work done for peace, and it's so real for people on the ground. But at the same time, we have the indivisibility of the internal market that is very, very important for us. We didn't opt to leave. We want to maintain the single market intact. And that is something that we have to sort out. And I think it's a bigger problem for the UK right now than it is for the EU.
But you want to keep trading with the UK. And the UK wants to keep trading with the 27 as well. And that's what we're trying to work out, a mechanism by which we can do that that's to both our advantage.
Okay, well,
this isn't a one-way street.
We'll continue this discussion because first let's get reaction from the United Kingdom. I'm joined by the editor of Politico's London Playbook, Jack Blanchard. Jack, good to have you with us on the show. What has the reaction been there? Because you were in Birmingham, you were at that conference. What was the reaction?
It's been very good, actually. I mean, if you cast your mind back a year to Theresa May's party conference speech last year, which was pretty much the most disastrous speech we've ever seen at a political party conference. She lost her voice. There was a stage invader. The set fell down behind her. So I think, even just delivering a decent speech was a pretty good start for her. And in fact, she's done a lot more than that today. You've got to remember, this is a speech that's pitched mainly at the Conservative Party. It's not pitched at a European audience. She is here, or she was there today to speak to her own party, who are very divided over Brexit, not really convinced by her approach. And so her main aim was to try and send a unifying message to the Conservatives that you need to get behind me now. This deal is going to be done in the next few weeks, and the time for sort of posturing and jostling is over. You need to get behind your Prime Minister and trust me in what I'm doing. And I think she did a pretty good job of that today.
And Jack, yesterday, Boris Johnson, the spotlight was on him. Do you think Theresa May got that spotlight back?
Yeah, I really do. I mean, Prime Ministers before Theresa May had this problem that Boris Johnson would come rolling into the conference on a Monday or a Tuesday, and there would be a whole circus around him because he's such a popular figure with the party grassroots, because he has this colourful speaking style that makes people want to come and watch him. This has always happened, and it was always going to happen at this conference too. So the main aim of Downing Street was to contain that as much as they could, to one afternoon. And then the Prime Minister stands up today and contrasts herself with Boris Johnson. She likes to portray herself as a much more serious figure, a serious politician for serious times is how Number 10 would put it, in the sense being that Boris Johnson is not that. And again, I think, much as the Boris speech is catnip to the Tory faithful, they watched her today and they looked pretty convinced by what she was saying.
All right, thank you for that. Politico's London Playbook editor Jack Blanchard there talking to us from London. All right, it's crunch time. 2 weeks till, I think 2 weeks till we are supposed to have the summit and the talks and a supposed deal on Brexit. What are we to expect?
I don't know. We're waiting for the European Union to come back and give their verdict on Chequers. Simply saying, well, it won't work is not actually an explanation.
You're not happy with the preparations going on here?
What the Prime Minister has said repeatedly, what she said today was really clear. Tell us exactly what you do not like. That's how a negotiation works. In this building, in the European Parliament, a rapporteur will come out with a report. Others have different views. They will lay down amendments. Where are the amendments? That's what we're asking for.
No, but of course, I think we need to, work towards a situation that is the least of all evils. Frankly, I think Brexit is a very sad event that's going to happen, but we have to make the best of it. But if I listen to the Prime Minister's speech, I hear a lot more of what she does not want. And that is what we keep hearing from the UK. We do not want this. We do not want that. We do not want to be part of the EU. We do not want a hard border. We do not want this. And I think spelling out what the UK wants, of course, the EU being clear about what details are not acceptable from the UK side is where we need to get. But I think a more sort of proactive, positive agenda from the UK would go a long way.
No, look, that's really unfair of you. It's really, really simple, isn't it? A democratic vote was held in the UK. You can disagree with whether it should have been or not. You can disagree with the outcome. It was democracy in action. The British people voted to leave. It's up to this government, or any other government for that matter, any other government, to negotiate a way in which Britain can leave the EU. So it's not fair to say the Prime Minister is saying, we don't want to be part of Europe. She's actually carrying out the will of the British people. That's what she's mandated to do. That's what she's got to do. And no one said this was going to be easy, other than maybe Boris Johnson and one or two of his friends.
I wish nobody said it was going to be easy. I think a lot of people suggested it was going to be easy, that it was going to be a walk in the park, that it was going to be only glory for the UK being freed of the shackles of the EU. Oh, yes, we heard so many of these promises. Maybe not by yourself. Well, if you've heard to your colleague, Mr. Farage, that we often hear shouting around here.
Let's be clear. He's not my colleague at all. He's from a completely different political party.
He's both our colleagues.
The serious politicians in the United Kingdom, the Prime Minister of my country, is doing a serious job. It's difficult. It was always going to be difficult. You can't disentangle yourself from an institution such as this, having been part of it for over 40 years, without it causing some friction and some problems. But the Prime Minister has been crystal clear. We want to trade frictionlessly with the European Union, and we want the European Union to trade frictionlessly with us.
Just very, very quickly, I mean, someone's got to budge if this is ever going to move forward.
That's what a negotiation is all about, and that's what we're waiting to hear. We need to hear from the other side. We've tabled and laid down our latest proposals. We want to hear back from the European Union what the problem is, why they think it won't work, what are those difficulties, so we can then look to refine those and push that forward. And actually, we need to get that into our Parliament for a vote as well as it coming here for a vote.
Absolutely. All right, we will continue this discussion. First, let's go to, May's speech last year. This year, it went better, in fact, because last year she was struggling with coughing fits, and we watched as a sign behind her had literally fallen apart. Now, this time around, she proved that she can take a joke. That's tonight's You Said It.
Thank you very much for that warm welcome. Now, can I just say, you will have to excuse me if I do cough during the speech. I've been up all night supergluing the backdrop.
That was your favorite one, and I asked you this in the beginning of the show, wasn't it? It did her well.
Yeah, no, I think it's really funny how she kind of did a self-deprecating joke about last year, and I think it's great. She upped the ante. We should maybe all move on to the scene
to laugh at
grooving. Yes.
Yeah, and you know, with Theresa May, I think what's interesting, she's got 9 lives. Because a couple of days ago, we were just talking about, who is going to replace her, who could be the next prime minister, and yet she's still holding on. I mean, what is it, her staying power?
I think people in the media were talking about who's
Yes.
going to replace her. I don't think her own party's thinking that at all. As a political party, we've had issues
you don't think
with
she's
Europe.
ever been in danger?
Well, we've had issues with Europe for a long period of time, and all Conservative prime ministers have had issues with the European question. This is a big issue for our political party and for Theresa May. She's handling it pretty well compared to how others have done.
And one quick question on the EU side. If Theresa May is ready to walk away with no deal, do you think the EU is going to do it as well? Can we call that bluff? Will they do it if there's no deal?
We don't want that. I mean, we don't want the UK to leave in the first place, and we don't want some kind of damaging, hard breakup, hard Brexit. But, you know, if there is no room for a good solution that works for everybody, then yes, that should be one of the options, unfortunately.
All right. Let's, the UK Prime Minister Theresa May, we saw that speech, we've been talking about it, and the internet was obviously watching. Well, our team in Lyon, Alex and theCUBE, have been looking at the reaction online. Alex.
Tessa, check this out. Theresa May is the 6th biggest trend on Twitter in the world right now. And in the UK, she has been trending, and so has Dancing Queen, for the reasons you just saw in You Said It. Now, fair to say, Theresa May, that was something unexpected. We were watching it here. I don't think anyone expected her to come dancing on, and people immediately picked up on it, including the Swedish ambassador to the UK saying, well, he can only say bravo to Theresa May for starting her conference speech with ABBA's Dancing Queen. Now, look, it was all a reference back to this moment in the summer. I don't know if you remember this. Theresa May dancing in Cape Town in South Africa. Well, she seems to have been aware that got a lot of social media attention, and today she made a feature of that at the top of her speech. But it wasn't just the dancing. People also picking up on the substance of the speech, like Stephen Swinford here, who's saying, well, checkers. He noted there's no checkers. It was not named. He's saying, is it dead in name at least? Theresa May instead calling it our proposal. So that's a very interesting spot. As well as that, Jane Merrick, who's a journalist in the UK, saying, well, there were some swipes at Boris in that speech as well. Boris reportedly having used a bad 4-letter word about business earlier in the summer. Well, Theresa May making a joke about that before saying the word back business. So that's a little dig at Boris Johnson, although he wasn't named directly. But then we've got the Brexiteers themselves, and Nigel Farage, while not a Conservative, certainly was an arch-Brexiteer and is, in his view, fighting to chuck checkers, the plan which is no longer being called that, seemingly, but seems to be the same on the paper. Well, he's almost admitting defeat, it seems, in this tweet here. Not for the first time. Theresa May reads a conference speech and the Conservative press back her. She will stay as leader, and Brexit will continue to be betrayed. That's what one Brexiteer says. But within her party, Michael Gove is a minister who backed Brexit, saying instead, for him, a fantastic speech from the PM. Modern, compassionate conservatism at its best. So all that talk of would there be a leadership contest? Is this the end of Theresa May? Well, it seems that the dancing, the jokes and the confidence of the speech anyway has got a lot of people talking, even if most of that chat on social is about ABBA. Tessa.
Right. Thank you for that, Alex and the CUBE team. I'm starting to think that this dancing has become a tactic now for her image.
To a European band, huh?
Exactly.
Is it a sign?
Is it a message?
Is it a sign?
I think it was more to do with Dancing Queen and our Prime Minister, actually, but anyway.
All right. Thank you very much to our guests for that.